Yo, what's up, everybody? It is Monday, December 16th, 15th. Holy cow. It's 15th already. What do we got? We got Corey, the caveman Connors with us coming out live from Seattle, Washington.
The great Northwest.
Up, how's it going?
Halfway through December. I can't believe it. Almost to 2026. It's right around the corner.
It's like you're going to your first communion or something.
Yeah,
nice. Then we got Adam, the Pale Man Peak, looking like Eminem today. What's up, buddy?
Yeah. I was just cleaning out my closet, so I was apologizing to my mom. But I feel like we only get one shot at this whole thing.
Right.
And people were saying that I was a rap god, but WRAP.
Right.
So, because we do a lot of rap labels here at thelabelking.com.
And you like spaghetti.
Labels. Yeah, I had vomit on my sweater. It was
all right. All right, man. So today I'm super stoked today. We got Justen Garrity coming on from what is the company called?
Veteran
Compost. That's right. So we're gonna kind of get into compost. What is it? What's new? What's happening? Answer any of your questions that you've got on compost, compostable packaging. Should you do it? Should you not do it? What's hot? What's not? And some pretty cool stuff, man. But what did you do this weekend, Adam?
Yeah, it was a battle rap contest, and thinks he's a gangster. His real name is Clarence. Clarence lives at home with both parents.
All right, man. So we got Justen Garrity joining us. Don't embarrass us, Adam. What's up, Justen? How's it going?
I'm good. How about you guys?
Awesome, man. We're super stoked. Can you give us just a quick rundown on who Justen Garrity is and what do you do, man?
All right. The short answer. Okay.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Exciting one.
Yeah. So the work side of things, to keep it short, is I own and operate Veteran Compost. So we're over in kind of the Maryland, DC, Northern Virginia area, and we collect and compost primarily food scraps from residential, commercial, industrial customers, and then compost that material at our facilities and turn it back into soil products. And I guess the way that I intersect with packaging is that we see a lot of it, whether it's intended to come to us, being a compostable item, or unintended is probably the things I vent more about on LinkedIn, right? Is the things that I don't want to see. And so we work with a lot of brands and a lot of customers on compostable packaging. And I've gone so far as to join the board of BPI. So I've been on the board of Biodegradable Products Institute for the last 2 years, and also chair the composter municipality committee there.
Wow. That's awesome. And then you mentioned before the show that there's a new BPI home compostable certification that's coming out. Did I get that right?
That's correct. So December this month, BPI now has a home compostable certification that folks can try to certify their products to. And I think that that's something that consumers have been looking for, right? In the space that they want to be able to do things on their own, maybe if there isn't a compost facility in their area. And then for brands, gives them an opportunity to have an item that really can be handled anywhere across the country or around the world. And so TÜV Austria had a home compostable standard. Now BPI does, and hopefully that will drive more, opportunities for material to be diverted from the landfill.
And you guys jump in with any questions you guys have. But
so many questions.
My question is, all right, so I get something that's packaged in something that's certified home compostable. What, as a consumer, like, what do I even know about composting, right? Like, how am I supposed to do it? And if I'm just your average guy shopping, like, what bin does it go in? Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Right. So yeah, I guess there is some ability or interest in handling it, right? So, if you have the backyard bin, the idea is that the standard is that these materials will break down in someone's backyard tumbler, compost pile, leaf pile, things like that. So it kind of, try to look at the conditions of what goes on in a backyard pile where hey, we're all busy. Maybe we have that pile in the backyard. We're not tending it every day like a commercial facility. And will it break down in that? I think too, like, we'll continue to see the growth when you look at like curbside composting around the country. We see more and more, opportunities, whether it's municipal or people signing up for a service like ours, where you could put it in a bin, set it out at the street, and off it goes. So I think it depends on the interest of the consumer. It's not going to be for everybody. I guess that's the challenge with all diversion, right? Is how do we reach the people that maybe aren't going to take the next step? But at least for those that are interested, the third or so of homeowners that would backyard compost, this will give them something they could add to their pile.
Real quickly to Kirk Visola's comment here. I was today's day old when I realized that Papa Doc and Falcon are the same actor.
Right.
What an amazing career.
Crazy.
That's pretty wild. Justen, I have a question for you, sir. So I have this lid here that I got, and it's a PLA lid. It just says compostable lid. I brought this up on the show last week. It just says compostable lid on it. And I think the question that a lot of people have is, number one, if this goes to recycler, it's not going to get recycled. That's the first thing, right? So don't put PLA into the recycle bin because it's just going to end up landfilled. But let's say they do the right thing, or they have a way to collect it and it ends up at Veteran Compost. What actually happens to compostable packaging shows up? Let's play the Miss Frizzle recycling thing, but Mr. Garrity composting. What happens to this thing when it shows up at your facility?
Yeah, I think, for me, my platform related to compostable products is kind of two parts, right? One part is I really advocate for good labeling, because I think that's good for consumers to know what they have and what to do with it and what they're buying. And then number two is it's good for composters. The other part of my platform is around monetization and EPR. But in terms of labeling, the best case scenario is having something that says certified compostable. There's so many misleading words out there for plant-based, bio-based, biodegradable, whatever. What we look for is something that says certified compostable, because then we know it meets a certain ASTM standard. At our facility, we're low tech. There are some facilities that have higher picking operations. Ours is $30 boots and $20 gloves and people picking by hand. And so we're going through the material, sorting out the things that are not compostable, and trying to get those diverted. And then all the stuff that is compostable, our process, the stuff that we receive today in 150 days is a complete finished product. So our process is pretty fast. It's going to come in. We're going to mix those compostable items with food scraps and wood chips. The pile that we build today will be at 140 degrees Fahrenheit by probably Wednesday or Thursday and pumping right along, even in this cold weather. Then we'll screen it, we'll cure it. And, when you're ready to garden in the spring, it's going to be waiting for you to come bulk or bag. So some processes out there, if you think about your municipal yard waste facility, they may be 10 or 12 months if you have nice long windrows of grass clippings and leaves, and that may take longer. Ours is a pretty accelerated process. But anything that's certified compostable should break down in any average, medium, well-run compost facility. Now, there's sometimes exceptions, but generally speaking, we see items like your lid there break down well in our system.
So if it, just to be clear, so if it says, like, this lid just says compostable lid, that's all it says. It's got a brand on there as well. But if somebody were to pick this up at your facility, is the risk too high to be like, let's put this into the compost? Because if it's not certified, or like, what would be the reason why you might pick this up and somebody would go, we've got to landfill this, it's not certified? Or what? Talk me through what that looks like when they pick this thing up. What are they looking for? If they don't see the certification, does it get landfilled? Is that the best thing to do with it? What happens?
Right. I mean, we'd like to see certified compostable. That one would probably go. I mean, we're really picking out anything that's obviously like number 1 and 2 clamshells. We're picking out all your Starbucks cups and poly-lined containers. So on that initial pick, so we'll pick. Our drivers are always on the lookout when they're collecting the bins. Our Virginia facility, 100% of what we process, we collect. Here in Maryland at our facility last year, 86% of what we processed, we collect. And so that gives us an opportunity to really source the right materials and work with the right people. So our drivers will usually be on the lookout for materials that maybe should be in the bins so we can talk to the customer. So all along the way, we're trying to pick out materials that shouldn't be there. That one says compostable. It's not ideal. It would probably make it through and go on. I think that, we've been advocating for better labeling laws, which we're starting to see in a lot of states. So I think that's going to drive a lot of the change, is when you see states like Minnesota, Washington, where labeling laws are coming in, and that's going to start to maybe drive how brands approach what they write on the containers for compostable logos. All that stuff will hopefully get better.
But at the speed at which you're picking, like realistically, like how big, how much contrast you actually need in order for that to be legible at the speed that you're picking it? Because you're not picking it up and then trying to find it. If you don't see it immediately, you got to kind of move on, right? I would assume.
That's the trouble, right? I mean, if it was my world, everything that was compostable would be neon green, right? But the people that are making this packaging also have customers and consumers and focus groups, right? And so they're trying to meet certain aesthetics or certain sizes of fonts and all that. I realize on the packaging side of things, there's a challenge there. And so, that's the thing for us. And that's where, to get into EPR and monetization, I'm willing to put up with more of those challenges if I'm getting some money for the hassle of dealing with the stuff. Right now, we don't get anything. Maryland, where we're based, has an EPR law that's coming. And so we're hopeful that, the funding from EPR will help us, hire more folks, help with more sorting, handle more materials. So I think that's where the other part of this comes in, is, hey, help us be compensated for what we're dealing with here.
Questions?
Yeah, we got a couple of questions here.
Yeah, you mentioned before we started about these depackaging machines. Can you talk to us about what those are and why those are kind of dangerous to compostability and composting?
Actually, if you don't mind, before we hop to that question, if we can get through a couple of these here, we got one from Chris Olson asking, what's a good option for composting in your backyard, where if you live in an area that's got bears. I don't know how many bears you guys have in
Battlestar Galactica
in Maryland.
We got bear issues. Okay. For anywhere where you have, let's call them vectors, usually it's squirrels and rats or raccoons. Bears is probably at the high end of what we'd call a vector. I think that's where a tumbler is helpful. So that's what we usually tell people, is you think about it, those spinning compost tumblers, they're up off the ground, they can be secured. They can be expensive. And what I always tell people is, if you want a good deal, when people move, they often do not move with their compost bin. And so we get a lot of SOS 911. Hey, I'm closing on my house today and this thing don't convey. Can you come? Can I bring this to you, or can you take it? So if you're on Facebook Marketplace, there may be today someone who's really hot to lose a tumbler for little or no price. So that's what I would always advocate for, getting a good deal on a tumbler. But that's what I would say. It's something that can be secured. Otherwise, if where you live, you may want to look at your county or municipality to see if they give free compost bins. Here in Maryland, about half the counties, their recycling offices provide kind of these mesh plastic bins, which are awesome for leaves and yard waste and some food scraps. So, certainly poke around and see what's out there, but the tumblers are the best for securing and keeping pests out. Bears, I can't guarantee it's bear proof. That sounds like a hell of a challenge.
Cool. We got a couple other questions. We got Kirk Visola asking if there's a way to test or verify that the product being recycled is what it says that it is. If it says compostable, then how do you test that?
Yeah, I mean, compostability, there are like ASTM standards, right? And then obviously probably the two biggest certification stamps or organizations you'll see are BPI and TÜV. And so that's what we often look for, because they're reviewing everything. And for BPI, they've taken the extra step of really having, driving down and eliminating PFAS from the packaging and making sure there's certain labeling requirements for folks who use their stamp. So, I am a little, that push for that extra level is what drove me to join BPI's board, because I think that they're trying to push the limit, always try to make things better, and thinking about composters as they make those challenges. So we're looking for someone that's met the ASTM standards and ideally has that 2 or BPI stamp, because we know that those certifying organizations are really checking everything out.
Okay, cool. And then we got Matt Burns. Just what's something you've found that's been labeled compostable, and you, at the end of the breakdown period, it hasn't done what it says it's supposed to do?
Yeah, I think 10 or 15 years ago. So I've been in the business for 15 years. And so years ago, cutlery used to be really chunky. I think to get things to work as a fork or something like that. And I think that stuff has all gotten a lot better, probably like a lot of materials, right? And so we don't have any challenges with compostable plastics in our system. It's interesting. If you talk to different composters, they may like or dislike certain items. Compostable plastics, straws, cups, all that stuff does really, really well. Compostable bags for everyone, I think, do really well. The films. The only thing that we sort of struggle with is a lot of the lunch trays around here have gone to like a fiber compostable lunch tray. And so the schools love to stack up the lunch trays to fit them in the bin. And we end up with these large masses of fiber that if our guys and girls don't knock them apart, they may not totally break down. But that's, once again, something that has to do with our process, the way we handle it. It doesn't have to do with the product. And I think about, not I'll tell a lot of Army stories, but one I think is, in this regard, is if you go to the rifle range in the Army, people don't qualify at the rifle range. The first thing they all do is they look down at their rifle, and no one ever blames themselves. They blame the gun. And 99% of the time, it's your sight picture, your breathing, or your trigger squeeze. And so I think the same thing here. I think it's really easy as a composter say, this thing doesn't break down, and we need to maybe look inside and make sure, is there anything in our process or the way we're acting that it might be the reason.
Yeah, no, that's a great example. So thanks for answering those for the audience. Corey, do you mind asking your question again on the depackager?
Yeah. So Justin, before we started, you mentioned a depackaging machine that's becoming popular in your industry, and you think it might cause some challenges and maybe make some microplastics in the compost. Can you walk us through what that is first and how it works?
Yeah, I bought my "I told you so" t-shirt and kind of put it on the shelf for this issue. So we'll see how things pan out. But these machines in the last couple of years have really come on strong, these depackaging machines. And I think that in certain applications, I totally get it. I think for like beverage destruction, where we have soda cans, or if we have tin cans full of pineapples and we want to get it out, I think if we have certain items that we're trying to get out of the package, I get it. And if you think about, we're running our grocery store, a bunch of yogurts go bad. Well, who's going to sit there and dump out each yogurt container? Is that the grocery store? Is that the composter? Right. I get it. That's a challenge. But I think these machines are being sold as kind of a silver bullet solution. And anything in sustainability that's a silver bullet, I'm a little skeptical, because it ain't that easy. And so you dump everything into this machine, it chops it up, squeezes it to a press, and what comes out is this slurry. And my concern is, well, what's in the slurry besides the food waste? What other plastic and microplastics is along for the ride? And to my knowledge right now, there aren't a lot of standards and testings with that. And so if you watch the press releases for people like Walmart and some of these other grocery stores that are now really proud that, hey, we're putting everything in this bin, we're saving the planet, well, let's pump the brakes and let's take a look at these machines, because the machines are indifferent. They're screening everything out. And so if it's a compostable package, if it's recyclable mixed in with non-recyclable, now all that PET that we thought was going somewhere is going right in the dumpster, and along with all these compostable things. So I think I get where the application could fit. I think if we continue to improve them, it could work, but I have some concerns about, we're doing all this work in packaging to make things better, and then now everyone's just going to cram everything through a machine and throw out the other stuff, and also what's in this slurry. So I'm the guy waving the flag, and It's a little unpopular because a lot of the large brands, that handle material, the nationally traded waste companies, the private equity backed guys are all doing this. And they hold a lot of the board seats in places like the U.S. Compost Council. And these depackaging machines are now title sponsors of our trade events. So it just all seems to have happened really fast, and maybe not a lot of people asking a lot of questions. And I think as it relates to packaging, it's kind of a problem.
Can I ask a question around, you talked about the monetization side with EPR, and then you started to kind of hint at some involvement with private equity now getting into, or maybe not just getting into, it's the first time I've heard of it, into the composting arena. Is there still economic or market forces that are restricting our ability to compost? I mean, is that in terms of like organic versus non-organic compost? I think you'd mentioned that the packaging renders compost non-organic and therefore has a lower value when it's sold to the market versus organic. It just seems like there's a lot of financial considerations that need to be considered by brands. And are we seeing any advancements there? Is private equity money helping with that? Is it hurting that? I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of noise around compostability and some money that's starting to come in. And I'm just curious where that's going.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the money's going into kind of consolidation. So you're seeing people kind of roll up stuff. Our industry is in, it's very regional or very localized, right? So like whatever town you live in, there may be an operation that works in that area. There may be a company that has a couple facilities in a state, but there aren't a lot of national operations in what we do. So I think there's like a number of challenges there. Obviously, we struggle with NIMBY, like any waste facility. Everybody loves composting, but nobody wants it in their neighborhood. And I think that, we need to try to figure out how to build more facilities, get more folks interested in being in our industry. To your question about the organic, that is a challenge, like where anything that has compostable items in it, that compost can't be certified organic. So here at our facility in Maryland, we run two separate areas, one for certified organic and one for non-certified organic. Still great product. We just call it all natural. The interesting thing to come back to the depackaging is we can cram everything through and put this slurry that has microplastics right into my organic pile if we wanted. So it's kind of an interesting way to circumvent that doesn't seem very organic, but currently fits the rules. So I think like to answer your larger question of how do we grow composting? I think we need to like figure out how to get more entrepreneurs in this space that want to grow. We're seeing some interesting capital where banks and family funds are maybe starting to roll out more growth of the successful operations. But it's a pretty big thing is how do we get to that next level? There's a number of things we're going to have to figure out to grow this thing.
So is the product that you're selling organic?
We produce two products. So we have a organic OMRI certified compost. Mm-hmm. So I can't put compostable cups and straws in that. So that has food scraps, Maryland blue crabs, coffee grounds, wood chips in that product. And then our all natural is all those same items plus zero packaging. So zero packaging. But like I may have mentioned last time I was on here is there's just some interesting idiosyncrasies or oddities to the organic certification. If you send me a dumpster of 10 tons of bananas with plastic stickers, I can put that in the organic pile. But if you send me 10 tons of bananas with compostable stickers, I can't put that in the pile, which doesn't seem very organic. So like there's some stuff there that needs to be addressed. The trouble is it's a very big federal thing. And, you get people together, and in the green community, we like to like eat our own. So like to make changes is very difficult. And I find myself the bad guy in some of these conversations when I'm just here to try to make the planet better. So we'll get there eventually. I don't know how old I'll be when we get there, but we'll get there eventually.
Yeah. One thing with sustainability, one thing I always say with sustainability is that there's no solutions when it comes to sustainability. It's just trade-offs, right? You're trading one material for another. You're trading one cost for another. Like there's always something to consider. And I know there's always people like, oh, this is the best. And it's like, not necessarily. It depends on what region you're in, like what the processes are. There's like so many things that go into it. But if you're a brand out there, and I know there's a lot of brands that are moving into like stand-up pouches, what would your recommendation be if they came to you and they're like, hey, we're thinking of moving into a stand-up pouch? What?
Compostable?
Yeah. What do you think we should be doing?
You're talking about a compostable pouch or just a pouch in general?
Yeah, a lot of brands are moving into pouches, and a lot of times these smaller brands don't really even know what's available. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that claims, that's got different claims on it that can break down in different ways, but they don't really know. If you're a brand and you're selling spaghetti sauce, you know spaghetti sauce. You don't necessarily know the plastics and everything else that goes on the back end. You're kind of counting on a sales guy that's going to make a profit off of you. So like, what would be the questions that they should be asking to make the right choice into what kind of packaging they should be going into, what kind of materials they should be going into?
Yeah, that's where I try to give people a lot of leeway, because once again, to your point, like you're in the business of we're here to sell food products, man. I'm sorry, I'm not. So I get it. It's a lot of challenges and trade-offs, and flexibles. I guess you guys would know more than me about what's out there and what truly is out there for recycling and processing and things like that. I mean, we're looking for things that are certified compostable. So if people have an item that is wholly certified compostable, awesome, bring it on. I think the challenge for us is in some of these food items is you get into the Frankenstein item where maybe the cap is plastic and it's trash or recycling, and then the pouch itself maybe is compostable. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing that we're the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges for us. Like I went to Cava on Friday and my bowl was compostable. My fork was not. The lid was number one plastic, and it had a sticker on it that I'm wondering if that made it really hard to recycle at the end of the day. So I think that's the biggest challenge.
Label. It's not a stick. It's a label.
That's a sticker. Stickers are not packaging. No, but you bring up a good point. Right? If you've got a combination of materials, then it kind of negates the whole thing unless you're separating things out. But when you're saying certified, if I'm a spaghetti sauce supplier and you come to me, somebody comes to me selling me a pouch that has printed on it compostable, I'll be like, oh, well, I guess it's compostable. But what should it say, right? Like, should I trust that it's something that says compostable, it is compostable, or what should I really be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, you could ask them who they certify through or with, like BPI. If you go in BPI world, you can search all the SKUs that exist there. And so we do that quite often for people, because I think people want to do the right thing, and they, especially I feel bad when people are spending extra money trying to do the right thing. So you could always look at BPI world, put in the item, or you could ask folks, hey, who do you certify with? Or, what certifications can you show me, and things like that. Because, we work with a lot of, event venues that are trying to green up things. And so they'll constantly send us, hey, someone told me this plate's compostable. Is that true? And sometimes it's right and sometimes it's not. And so I would say, not to speak too badly of them, but paper salesmen have been known to tell a few tales. So yeah, it would be right to maybe check the receipts.
So there's BPI. I think NSF has a certification, at least and TUV. Are there other certifying bodies that are out there that are in the US, or is it just, those are the only three that I've heard of?
Yeah, and I think CMA is another one that may be out there too.
Country Music Association does not have a certification. I'm saying
that is the Compost Manufacturers Alliance or Association or something like that. And that's where it's tough for brands, right? Because you're like, well, which certification should we hold? And do we need all of these, or what will people take? I think anything that meets that ASTM standard that's been reviewed by a third party is great. So whether it's TUV or BPI, we're cool with it.
D6400, right? It's ASTM D6400. Is that the correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Nerd. That's nerd stuff.
So if the packaging says biodegradable, it means it's compostable, right?
Right. So that's the challenge, right? Things that say biodegradable, what does that mean? That doesn't really certify to anything. So that's where like biodegradable, bio-based, plant-based, all that stuff is where it gets really greenwashy. So biodegradable would get routed to the trash here at our facility, if that's all it said.
What's the Tommy Boy quote? I could take a dump in a box and stamp it guaranteed.
I know butcher. What is it? The butcher, right? You can ask
Yeah.
the butcher.
Awesome. Corey, do you have any questions? You've gotten quiet all of a sudden.
Well, you cut him off, jerk.
I did cut you off. Sorry.
I think we've got a problem with access, and I think that I'm wondering if Justen has any information on what's being done about that. Are there municipalities that are adding compostable curbside availability? Because I'm not seeing that, and I'd love to see more of that.
Yeah, I think that, I think a great opportunity would be there's so many facilities that process yard debris, to get them to start to add food scraps to the mix. I think that would be a great effort if we could ever get that to happen. There's so many municipalities that take grass clippings and leaves. And if we could just get them to try adding some food waste to the mix would be awesome. But there's some good stuff underway. We are seeing more EPR studies, more EPR laws coming into effect, and they're including compostables in that language now. And we're also seeing organizations like Closed Loop Partners that continue to put out, more white papers and studies to really continue to show the economics and the logistics of how all this stuff could work, and, try to get more people's attention.
Lots of work to be done for sure.
100%. Awesome. Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up, man. Justen, thank you so much for being on here with us. Tons of information. If anybody wants to learn more, what's the best place they can find out more about you?
You can always track me down on LinkedIn, and I'll accept just about any request if you write a nice note.
Or no note.
Yeah.
No note, 50-50. We'll say.
Cool, man. No, I think definitely look into compostable, moving your packaging into compostables where it makes sense. It doesn't always make sense in every instance, right? If there's stuff that's going to, if you've got liners, like you said, Starbucks cups, those types of things, even though they may say compostable, biodegradable, there's a lot of different plastic alternatives. But if it's not going to break down in the time that you're committing to, then it doesn't necessarily make sense, right? If you're having to screen things out, it's just more cost to you. So let's make things a little bit easier on the composting side. Make it easier for consumers to make that decision, and then easier for your pickers to actually see it. So definitely follow Justen. Keep commenting here. We'll keep checking this out over the next week or so. Thanks again, man, for being on. Corey,
Thanks,
you got any last words?
No, really appreciate you being on, Justen. I enjoyed our conversation on my podcast, and I'm excited to see the future of compostable materials in general, but mostly packaging for my focus. So thank you for the work that you do.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Love hanging out with you. And if anyone has packaging or composting stuff, let me know. I'm just happy to see it all hopefully move forward and get better.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Love it. Thanks, Justen.